Okay, and a final objection to cultural relativism. At one time, cultural relativism was touted as sort of the progressive idea, right? It was, and in a way it was. I mean, you were finally able to step out of your culture, look at the perspective of another person living in their culture and say, how do I navigate life in this different culture, right? It may be well and good for me in one culture to say, well, it's wrong to take bread, but now I'm living in a different culture where that's the only way that you can survive. How can I now judge that person that's taking bread and say, no, you shouldn't do that, you should starve to death? That seems like way too judgy. So in a way, it definitely was very progressive. But when you say the word progressive, what do you mean? Typically, progressive means progressing towards some goal or at least some ideal. But what is the ideal here? Or rather, I guess a better question would be, could there be an ideal? Let's think about this issue. Is slavery wrong? At one time in the United States, the answer was no, there's nothing wrong with it. And in fact, impeding slavery is impeding progress in the United States. Now we think, yes, it is very wrong. We look at some things, especially like the slave ships, like the torment that some slaves went through, taking them from their homes, whipping them, those kinds of things. And we say, gosh, how could we have done that? But haven't we grown as a nation? On cultural relativism, though, you can't really say that you've grown as a nation, right? Because at that time, you were doing the right thing. At this time, you're doing the right thing. Because the right thing is whatever the nation agrees on, right? So you can never actually grow as a nation, as a culture. You can never learn things. You know, when Emmett Till happened, I think people finally started to wake up to how disgusting the dehumanization of the black population was. Like, how can we do this? You know, that seems disgusting. We need to rise above what we're doing right now. What we're doing right now is wrong. But on cultural relativism, it couldn't be wrong, right? Because that's what the culture was. Now, the culture can change, right? But it can never be wrong. But it seems like we can be wrong, right? It seems like as a nation, we can be wrong about the kinds of things that we do, and we can kind of grow up. We can get maybe ethically more mature, something like that. But on cultural relativism, we can never do that. So there's a reason to object to cultural relativism. Now, if you got any more objections, any response to the objections, remember, hit me up on the comments. And if I think of any more, if I come across any more, I'll add more to the classroom.